SaaS Therapy.
Welcome to this episode of SaaS Therapy. My name is Trujillo, and this is a SaaS Therapy short. If you've been a listener of our podcast, you know that we have these full-length podcasts where we do a session with either myself and Todd Kirk, who is my co-host, or we have a guest, and those are our longer formatted podcasts. These ones are shorter, less than 7 minutes. So today we are talking about how do we get to the end user, the last mile problem, as they call it. You do all this work to help with customer education or customer success. You're trying to provide these great experiences, or maybe you're in implementation and you've done an amazing onboarding. But at the end of the day, the people that everyone wants to get to and where the return on investment comes from is the actual licensed users. And are they using your SaaS application in the way they should be? But what takes place is obviously you work through your admin, you work through your champion, and trying to get to that last user is the issue. So recently, I don't know why, but I took on this challenge from David Goggins. He has this challenge of running 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. And so you end up running 48 miles in 2 days. And I will tell you, at the beginning, I felt fantastic. It wasn't too crazy. We started at midnight, and then we ran at 4 a.m., then 8 a.m., and then noon, and you repeat this, right? They're running 4 miles every 4 hours. Well, I'll tell you what, when we got to the last miles, when we got to mile 45, 46, and 47, and 48, I thought I was going to break down. And I think it's similar with what we're trying to accomplish with the users that are using your software. How do I get to them where I'm not worn out by the time I get to them, right? So there's some things that you can do to make this simple. Number one, is it possible to meet your end users where they're actually at? If you have your point of contact that says, hey, I'm trying to push further adoption, what are the resources you have available to me? The thing you do not want to do, please do not send a communication that has 25,000 different links to all the different resources you have. Will you please pause and ask the question of what type of adoption or what type of business value are we trying to drive to so I can send you to the appropriate resources? The person at the other end of that phone call that you're having, they usually are just not over your software application. They're managing multiple software applications. And by the way, they have a different job than just doing that. So by you just sending them links, asking them to go through the links, decide which links that they think are going to be the best ones, which ones are going to be the most appropriate. Are they even quality, right? And making your point of contact go through all those different things. Find out what they're trying to push. Find out what the business goal is, because you know what? Then you can actually recommend the right resources to them that you're proud of, that you think are going to drive to those needs, and you just saved your champion a lot of different time. All right. The second thing that you could be thinking about in that last mile problem is when you, and this is for customer education, when you are doing customer education, do not send surveys at the end. You can do that. I'm not saying don't do that. But what I would recommend to you is inside of your learning, pause and ask questions. If you are already getting the user's attention and they're giving you time. So let's say that you're teaching somebody how they can collaborate with a document. And you just did a 2 or 3 minute video watching them how to share that document with a colleague. Pause and say, hey, how many times in a week do you receive email attachments? Boom, you get a number, and then you start educating again. What you just did is you engage the user in the right mindset. So that way, when you get the data back and you get the information and you go back to your champion and say, hey, isn't it interesting that in the survey data we put in there that a majority of users say 70% of the documents they receive are email attachments? Hey, that seems like a problem. What if in your next communication, you get something from your executive sponsor to say, hey, the data is showing that we are consistently sending email attachments. There has to be a better way to work. So as you start thinking about that last mile problem, don't get tired out when you get to the end. That's when you should have the strength. That's when you need to think, what is a better way in which I can get to these end users? How do I make it simple? One of the things I always tell organizations when I'm consulting, make it easy to buy from. The same principle goes with customer adoption. Make it easy for your point of contact to drive adoption with their customers. Don't make it hard. Well, thank you for joining me for this SaaS Therapy Short, and we are always grateful that you are tuning in to help your most important relationships, your customers, thrive. Thank you, and have a great day.
SaaS Therapy is brought to you by Brainstorm, the SaaS platform for SaaS adoption. Learn more at brainstorminc.com.